À-bas-le-ciel.
Capitalism.
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 I'm trying to live on not much money, but you're even going farther with that and living without money.
Yes, I'm just sharing with you. So you're helping me live without money, yes.
And you've done a lot of couch surfing like I have. It's been over 3 years now where I haven't paid rent anywhere. I've just been traveling around and couch surfing. And when I'm home base is still the Niagara region, Toronto area for me. And I have siblings who have let me stay with them. And I try to help out. But I know sometimes I still feel like a mooch once in a while. And you said you've experienced that too a little bit, maybe feeling like a mooch. How do you deal with that?
I'd say I feel the perception from others that they think we're mooches. And I don't want them to feel that way. It's, I think, a condition of the way that we are grown up in the community. They don't think so much about the waste, the overproduction. They want everyone to participate in the community, even if we have an overabundance and it's not being shared and there's people's needs not being met that don't have money to have those needs met in that system. So yeah, I think some people think, okay, yeah, great, you're a freegan, but you're using my money. You're using my couch, you're using my food, you're using my car. I would hope that they would be open to consider it as sharing, that when I was using money, I would share, and they have these things and they will share. And it is maybe better for the community if we share a home or share meals together, even if we are using money, to use less money by making dal with rice, which is a $1 dinner. We can share with many people in India. When they make dinner for 100 people, it doesn't cost them very much money. I mean, it's coming from the field. We both know money's not real. They're not really using money at all. But yeah, I would hope that they would be open to me giving in a different way rather than something using money, and that they would be sharing.
Basically 95% of what we're consuming under capitalism is like ethically questionable at best.
So you're saying that rather than rant against capitalism and money, I should become a capitalist. Then I could open up vegan businesses and donate money to help the animals. No, I'll never become a capitalist. There's no such thing as a vegan capitalist. Veganism is about equality, capitalism is about inequality. Even if a business uses no non-human animals at all, if that business is making a profit, it's because of exploitation.
A capitalist system.
Capitalism.
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 They're exploiting the humans, they're exploiting the workers. Veganism is about compassion for all beings, including human beings. There's no ethical consumption under capitalism. Veganism must be anti-capitalist. You know, being a part of the animal rights community is really wonderful. We've met so many fantastic people who are happy to share.
Yeah, exactly. I find other activists are open to sharing because it's for the same cause. So if they share a ride with me or let me couch surf, they know that that helps us to have more time to go to the events, to go to the vigils.
So we've talked about, as far as not spending money, how to get around. You've done hitchhiking. And what about eating? Have you ever, I tried dumpster diving with a friend once, and I joined that. She actually went into the dumpster and she passed the food out to me. So I helped in that way. But you've done quite a bit of dumpster diving.
Yeah, I love dumpster diving.
I teach a lot of things at the university. I teach Marxism, anarchism, feminism, postmodernism, all of the radical philosophies of the day. But none of these philosophies are radical in the sense that animal rights is. And I began to reflect at what is so radical about animal rights as opposed to Marxism, anarchism, feminism, postmodernism. And I realized that it was a couple of things. Number one, unlike any of those other philosophies, it changed your daily practices and habits. It uprooted your relationships with other people, with friends and family, so that if you learn Marxism, you can go home and sit calmly over the dinner table, smearing chicken wings all over your face, and talk about capitalist exploitation without realizing the immense contradiction of that discourse. And in other words, you can carry on your normal life, and your daily habits are not uprooted or challenged in any way. But with animal rights and the logical consequence of ethical veganism, those relationships become ruptured in a way that no other doctrine can cause this turmoil in your everyday life.
If you're living like us, you have to be good company. You're not going to be taken into someone's home if you're not good company.
But you say you haven't had any terrifying experiences.
No, not terrifying, but it wasn't terrifying for me that someone accidentally thought I was a prostitute. So I reflected, maybe I wasn't dressed the best, but I was dressed normally with a giant hitchhiking backpack. But it was just a miscommunication. The last 2 years, only positive. So I have nothing to share with others that I would say be scared. I've mostly done it as a lone woman. Be approachable. I don't know if that works. I met guys who do it alone and they will juggle. They will be holding a funny sign. I definitely think to talk for a few moments before you get in a vehicle. Make sure that they are going the same direction, that you don't have the miscommunication, that you are a prostitute. If you're living like us, you have to be good company. You're not going to be taken into someone's home if you're not good company. Whether we're using money or not, we're highly connected, highly dependent. People would say, okay, you just depend on others. True, we also do when we have money.
Capitalism.
Capitalism?
Capitalism.
À-bas-le-ciel.
The people we've just been watching on camera are not hypocrites. And the philosophy or ideology they represent is not popular. In their way, they're trying to be morally consistent. They're trying very much to live out the philosophy that they preach. However, what's more influential within veganism are precisely the voices of the hypocrites. Hypocrites like Emily.j.Court, esteemed reporter for plant-basednews. Let's take a look at the title and front page of this article here. Opinion, veganism isn't cruelty-free. Here's why. Spoilers, the reason why is anti-capitalism. What does cruelty-free mean anyway? Looky here on screen. When you see a product labeled as cruelty-free, that only means its ingredients or finished product wasn't tested on animals. That doesn't sound too bad. Why would anyone oppose that concept or idea? Why would that be something you'd object to? Oh, right. Capitalism. Okay, we'll get back to that. So you've just seen video of people who were living some kind of humble, homeless existence so that they could really live up to their own principles of not using money, not being part of the system, and so on. Here's Emily.j.court, the reporter whose article we're just about to look at. What does this look like to you? Is this a socialist revolutionary in the jungle? Oh, no, wait. Instagram is capitalism. What is that, a mojito? I'm not sure what kind of cocktail that is. This whole bar, this whole lifestyle that she espouses or glamorizes on Instagram, if this isn't capitalism, what is? Oh, here we go. Another day, another nightclub, another color filter to glamorize the evening. So this isn't capitalism to you? This isn't embracing capitalist culture, the capitalist economy? No? Living in a state of rebellion? Except when we go to the gym. Quote, if I called veganism anti-speciesism, sometimes I think it would be easier for people to understand. Just like feminism, it's about the opposition of arbitrary discrimination and exploitation, period. No hidden agenda. And that is part of the problem with being a so-called anti-capitalist, or in plain language, a crypto-communist within veganism, is that you do have a hidden agenda. But it's interesting that you say here that it would be better to be vegan without a hidden agenda. I agree, especially when your hidden agenda is an ideology that's linked to the starvation and persecution of millions of people in some of the worst dictatorial regimes in the history of planet Earth. China, Russia, Cambodia, you name it. And we continue. Oh, here she is again on Instagram at the gym, our anti-capitalist poster girl, Emily Court. What's this? Oh, is this more capitalism? No, I'm sorry. This luxury vegan pizza was purchased in a communist country. So this makes it not capitalist, right? This was purchased in Hanoi, Vietnam. Maybe it was her positive experience as a tourist in Vietnam buying this kind of fancy vegan pizza that made her think that capitalism is the problem. No, I can't imagine. Oh, here we go. Quote, if you're looking for my paychecks, then go straight to Envie Halifax. Okay, so this we can call capitalism. Do you see this subtle contrast between luxury vegan food in Vietnam and luxury vegan food in the decadent capitalist West in Halifax, Canada? Yeah. Oh, here's an anti-capitalist idea. Quote, who wants to crowdfund me to live in London? Question mark. Well, gee, maybe she really is closer in principle to the people we were just seeing talking about living a life without money, living a life without paying rent, because she's interested in her donors paying for her to live in this capitalist paradise of London, England. Quite a high rent place to live. Are you sure you wouldn't rather live in a communist country? Are you sure you wouldn't rather live in a non-capitalist society, given where this article is going? Okay, here we are enjoying a fabulous luxury capitalist vehicle with leatherette seating. And here you are with the staff members of Plant-Based News. Oh, I'd like to imagine that they pay you a salary, but maybe they don't. For all I know, you guys are organized on collectivist wage-free principles. Okay, we begin at the bottom here. Quote, when we call something cruelty-free, while overlooking the fact that it is the product of exploitative industries in developing nations, we leave ourselves open, as advocates, to detracting from our own message. Instead of having a conversion, oh God, so this even has an uncorrected typo. Instead of having a conversation, she means to say, about animal liberation and reducing harm, we end up having a conversation about human rights, which, while equally important, detracts from the topic at hand. Here's a politically correct photograph. Everyone putting their hands in the circle. People of all, genders and races and what have you. Problematic notions. Using the term ultimately perpetuates the idea that once a person goes vegan and stops investing in industries that are by nature exploitive, again, that should be exploitative, not exploitive, but anyway, they've ascended to a higher moral plane and are beyond reproach. This simply isn't true, period. Capitalism is destructive, consumerism is destructive, and animal agriculture is not the only cruel industry in existence. We do ourselves, other people, and animals a disservice by acting like it is. Veganism is a great place to start, but it's not the finish line. We shouldn't fool ourselves into thinking that it is. In putting together this video, I really did try to do a survey of the anti-capitalist vegan left. I tried to get some sense of how numerous they are and how active they are, and I was really surprised. Before I ever came on YouTube, I was involved with the intellectual demi-monde of Vegan Tumblr, a written blog. And being on the internet, you often notice the voices that are not the most numerous, but are the most noisy and the most malcontent. And you'd really get the false impression that there's a whole lot going on the anti-capitalist left within veganism. But the reality is the silent majority by far, are not making any kind of backhanded comparison between capitalism and communism, nor between capitalism and feudalism, nor between capitalism and some kind of fantasy about cashless primitive anarchism. Those really are marginal voices in the vegan movement, and I think it's important in terms of how we organize the movement and how we present information that we make it clear that that shouldn't be the mainstream news broadcaster, news presenter, that shouldn't be treated as a definitive central or default position within veganism. These are voices from the margins of what's already a marginal movement to begin with, veganism. There are two types of voices in this fringe debate. One group are the people who really sincerely practice what they preach and who almost eliminate themselves from the movement because economically it ceases to be possible for them to participate, let alone lead the movement, because they're either going to go and live in a cage. Let's slip there. They're either going to go and live in a cave, or they're going to be perpetually hitchhiking, couch surfing, etc., like some of the people you heard in the first half of the video. And then the other hand, we're going to continue to get sarcastic sniping from people who are hypocrites, people who in fact, in terms of how they live their lives, are indeed capitalists, but who still preach a kind of hypocritical doctrine of crypto-communism. As I said years ago on my blog before I came on YouTube, veganism is fractious and fragmentary. It's incredibly diverse. ideologically, economically, in every conceivable way. We have people who come to veganism out of a traditional Hindu religious background, out of a Buddhist background, paradoxically enough, out of an Orthodox Jewish background. Big vegan movement in Israel, some of it secular, some of it religious, so on and so forth. There's a dazzling array of left-wing, right-wing, every shade of gray in between. So some of these debates can legitimately exist within veganism, and some of these debates are going to, in effect, get people kicked out of veganism, get them kicked out of whatever movement they happen to be a member of. I've had many, many videos asking the question of where do we draw the line, and when do we, in effect, kick people out for being so right-wing that they're, in effect, neo-Nazis, or, when it's just somebody like Durianrider, when it's somebody whose behavior is so unacceptable and disruptive and immoral that they have to be excluded for other reasons that may be completely apolitical. Those are very difficult questions to answer, and they're very difficult to enforce. I think the way forward, if you have people in your life who subscribe to a nebulous and hypocritical doctrine of anti-capitalism, is to really sit down with them and get them to talk through what anti-capitalism means. I think it's an ideology that thrives on vagueness, innuendo, shadow, and contradiction. And that when people are really honest, that they don't want to go back to a feudal society, that they don't want to go back to a communist society, that in fact the idea of cashlessness really is a kind of religious ideal, whether it appears in Christianity, Buddhism, or in this kind of secular left-wing ideology. I think that the vast majority of people who at some stage of their life worship an anti-capitalist doctrine are simply going to move on. I remember reading an article that said about the communist country of Laos, a country I lived in, did research in, did humanitarian work in. Simply put, Buddhism proved to be more aesthetically durable than communism. That communism had taken over the country, but just didn't last. In the same way, my hope is that veganism is going to prove more aesthetically durable than all of the fad ideologies that arise and fall within it, which unfortunately has included the crazy 30 bananas a day diet of Freelee to all these inane varieties of left-wing radicalism.
À-bas-le-ciel.